Should all Big 12 fans rally together to hate Utah? Do we all have a common enemy here, or is it somebody else? This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. And before you go, I hope you're a Utah fan, because this is where I want to talk to you and everybody else in the conference. This is where all 16 of us, we sit down in a room, no matter who you're representing, Baylor, Texas Tech, UCF, Cincinnati, and we do a little powwow about who in this conference is a little bit too big for their britches and who in this league we all should show a little bit more love to. We also will get into the Big 12 is chaos. I think this is the deepest league in the country. I believe it is the most entertaining league in the country. Spencer McLaughlin and I will break down last week's games and why the Big 12 is so chaotic and how so many of you represented us well on the national scale. He also claims that Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football, that the Big 12 has the best slate of games in the country this weekend. We're going to pick the biggest games this week. I'll give you all my predictions at the end of the show. Should we hate Utah? When I was, can I pull the curtain back a bit? You and I have become friends now. You probably listen to the show for a while. You make it your first listen every single day. When I sit down on a morning and I say, what would be a good topic for a show? I'm going to give you really behind the scenes. And then I say, what would gain viewership? What would get clicks? What would people say? Ooh, I want to listen to that one. And the reason is I want to hook you in so you stick around for a while and you and I become friends and have a long-term relationship. I love long-term relationships. And today I thought, out the window, I've got thoughts. I'm not going to do the, fun expansion topic. They'll click on this one. No. After this week, Kansas fans, Kansas State fans, Oklahoma State fans, Baylor fans, Texas Tech fans, everybody kind of sat down in a room and said, are Utah fans mean? Are they bad people? BYU fans are like, oh, well, we've seen this for years. This is nothing new to us. And what I have seen is something that I might have a surprising response to as somebody who went to Baylor and getting to see that banter back and forth this week. And last week, I talked about how I was disappointed with Utah's atmosphere. And I've talked to a couple people who were at the Utah-Baylor game, and specifically in the second half, they're like, yeah, the wind was taken out of the place. I mean, their starting quarterback had gone down, and you would expect there to be a different vibe from that. And I know somebody's already in the comments like, well, our starting quarterback was out. Of course, the vibe was different. Yes, I get that. However, it doesn't change how the vibe was. I don't hate Utah. If Utah wins a national championship, the Big 12 wins a national championship. And can I say something controversial right now? BYU fans, plug your ears. 95% of Utah fans are normal people. And the other 5%, 4.8 of that 5%, have a right to be weird, have a right to have moxie, to be cocky, to give you something different in the Big 12. Why? Because they win. Because they win. We don't have enough of that in the Big 12. I want to commend the Utah fan base. I want to commend the Utah Twitter warriors. I want to commend the Utah commenters. Oh, this podcast is BS. Oh, this is a joke of a podcast. Oh, I'm shocked that anybody listens to this podcast. Yeah, get in line, buddy. 7.2 million people last year. That's neither here nor there. You have brought the most entertainment that this conference has seen from a fan base that is loud, proud, and in the most respectful way possible, obnoxious. The most that we've seen since Texas. Buddy, we just got ourselves another Texas. And here's the difference. Here's why I can respect Utah fans, and for so long, I couldn't give a rat's you-know-what about Texas fans. Because Utah wins. When you win, you can do pretty much whatever you want. Baylor won a Sugar Bowl a couple of years ago. TCU went to the national championship, and they get this like burner verse. But they're two universities. Their fan bases aren't that active on social media. Honestly, they'll tell you their excuse that they always use is they have a small alumni base, and it's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean they still show up and support. I was at the national championship game TCU played in, and it was half it was purple. It was awesome. I've been to plenty of Baylor games that were packed. But they don't have this moxie, this annoying fan base. There's not this Twitter warrior. And you know what's crazier? Like Texas Tech has that. They've got it's all West Texas and tortillas and cactuses, and they all put cactuses in their bio and everything. And guess what? When they lose, they're normal about it. Texas Tech fans in the last couple of weeks have hidden on social media. When I put up my power rankings, they're begging me to put Texas Tech last, to display just how bad Tech is. They accept it. There's not a, come on, guys, let's rally together. They are very aware as a fan base. They're used to it by now. They've lost a lot over the course of their history. Utah fans, win, lose, draw, you best not say anything bad about Utah, because nothing bad has ever happened. Nothing bad has ever come out of Utah. Nothing bad could ever be a thing in Utah. Oh, we lost a lot of games last year. Yeah, well, our whole roster was hurt. That's a true story, actually. They probably have a point there. And they're going to let you know about it, no doubt. Oh, yeah? Yeah, you think that, Baylor's going to win this week? Nope. And we're going to be the biggest D-bags about it, because we can be, because we're good. I love it. I think all 16 of us need to sit down here, look at each other across the room. Cincinnati, look at Kansas State. Kansas State, you look at UCF. UCF, you look at West Virginia. West Virginia, look at Arizona. Arizona, look at Arizona State. Arizona State, look at Colorado. Look at Houston. We all look at each other and go, yep, they're the ones of the 16, the Utah fans. They're the most outspoken, respectfully, the most annoying, the most insane. But they absolutely have every right to be. They deserve to be, because they're good, because they win, and because they're taking that winning from the Pac-12 into the Big 12. And I think they're going to still win. And as long as they do that, they can do whatever they want. And that makes me want to beg the rest of you, including the 8 who have been here for the last 12 years, 13 years, get a little mean. Have a little moxie. Do something. We're letting these guys show us up. I'm not getting enough entertainment out of you. If you're good, a la Kansas State, Oklahoma State, be a butt on social media. We need to grow the exposure of this conference, and step one to doing that is growing the amount of butts that we have. This is Locked On Big 12. Coming up, Big 12 is chaos. It's the deepest league in the country. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Oh my gosh, my 2016 Nissan Maxima is sitting outside right now, and it's banged up. It's beat up. I tell you what, it's not in great shape until I go to eBay Motors. When I go to eBay Motors, I say eBay Motors, I work for a baseball team, and my car gets beat all to crap. And they say, well, passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships. And we have superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Speed, power, style, 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit. Keep your ride or die alive. Go to ebaymotors.com. Go to ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. That's ebaymotors.com. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I go to make money. Dude, I love it. I go to FanDuel and I say, hey, BYU's going to beat SMU. And FanDuel says, all right, you want to bet? I say, yes. And I win money. They have something a little different for you as well. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. Get a free 3-week trial of Sunday Ticket. That's NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account. That's right. And a current form of payment you can cancel any time. Visit FanDuel.com. Download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com, right now to download America's #1 sportsbook and bet on the Big 12 all week this week. Again, that's FanDuel.com. Visit them. Do it today.
We're getting our Big 12 fix on today with Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 because something happened that disturbed both of us on Saturday, Drake. We're going to talk about Iowa State and how impressive of a win that was in Iowa City. But first, let's begin with Kansas. The most disappointing Big 12 team from the weekend. I stuck my neck out there for Kansas. Now, their Big 12 title hopes are not gone with a loss to Illinois, but I am concerned.
I'm not happy, Bob. Not happy. Kansas was
Great Incredibles reference. Great Incredibles reference. Well done.
To win the Big 12 and to be at the top of the conference and prove that Lance Leipold had brought his system to Lawrence, and it didn't matter that the name Kansas had been dragged through the mud for the last 20 years, that they're finally good at football, and maybe they're still good, but they're not great. They're not elite. They're probably not a Big 12 championship team, especially if they play like that. And Jalen Daniels wasn't the same Daniels that we saw pre-injury. And Devin Neal wasn't the bell cow we thought could lead Kansas to victory no matter what. And the defense was still good. You're just not supposed to rely on the defense when your offense has weapons like that. And the weapons weren't there. Now, do we pin that on new offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes and Andy Kotelnicki being gone? Part of that, there's going to be some learning experience and learning curve. But, buddy, you've got at least – this is not a new Mustang in the garage. This is not a new Rolls Royce, but it's at least a 2020 Nissan Maxima. It's got something there, but it looked like an Isuzu, and you never want to be an Isuzu in college football.
No, it was a 2001 Volvo. It's technically serviceable, but you look at it and go, I'm not impressed by anything that's going on in that particular car. Nothing exciting is going to take place in that particular car. But I think that for Kansas, the disappointing thing for Jayhawks fans, like you and me, obviously, was how Jalen Daniels played. This isn't his first go-round. I know he's got a new offensive coordinator, but part of the reason I felt okay picking them to make but not win the Big 12 championship game this year against Utah is that Jalen Daniels is really good. And when he's healthy, he's been winning a lot. And that's, of course, the predicate to all this, but he looks plenty healthy. And he turned the ball over, was it 3-4 times in this football game? That's what was concerning. And look, it's early in the season. You have time to right the ship. You could still go, 9-3, have two Big 12 losses, make the conference title game. That turnaround is still possible. The Kansas team that a lot of people like us believed in is still in there. It just was not on the field in Champaign. And credit to Illinois. Luke Altmaier looks like a much different football player. Brett Bielema did a heck of a job. Crowd was great. I don't want to take everything away from the Illini. Kansas did not play up to its standard here.
No, I'm looking right now at Pick 6 previews, and they are Big 12, Big 10 preseason rankings, and Kansas is up there in most offensive categories. Defensively in the Big 10, Illinois is ranked 17th on the defensive line. They are 12th with the linebacking core, 14th in the defensive backfield. You would think that a quarterback like Jalen Daniels would pick that apart. And not only did he not pick it apart, he went 18 for 32, 141 yards, and 3 interceptions. Those 2 touchdowns ended up not amounting to too much in the 23-17 loss.
That's just nauseating. That's nauseatingly bad for a guy of his talent. He's so much better than that.
You tell me that Illinois is going to score 23 points. I tell you that Kansas is a guaranteed lock to win, and the offense stunk bad.
It did. And my game score prediction was Kansas 34, Illinois 24. Illinois did exactly.
Which is a very similar score to last year, and Kansas brought back all of the offense.
And not the offensive coordinator. Maybe that's the missing piece of the puzzle. Maybe they just need time to get things right.
Or would have been the devastating crowd in Champaign. Very tough to play in front of.
It's true. It was a great crowd. It was a great crowd. Credit to Illinois fans. It was a great crowd. It should not have derailed Kansas that much. But elsewhere around the Big 12 from this past week, Drake, Iowa State, it felt like they were going to lose for about, how many minutes are in a football game? Let's see. Last I checked, there were 60. How many minutes did it feel like Iowa State was going to lose that football game? 58 and a half? 57? 56 is the minimum that you thought they were losing that game. And you look up and wait, that ball went through the uprights. Iowa State won. What did you make of this game?
I thought our preview was great. Let's pull the curtains back a bit. We both got done with that preview last week, Iowa State. We're like, oh, that was one of the previews of all time. We really didn't say anything because it was tough in a game like this to say much. You're looking at 2 offenses that are trying to prove that they are better than last year and improved coming off of defensive-led years. And then the defenses were good. That's your assessment. You go into the game, it's exactly what you get. The most impressive part to me was we looked at Iowa State and Matt Campbell and said, hey, score 20 points, but do it in 30 minutes. That's what they did. The offense went out in the second half and won the game entirely then in what was a non-competitive first half offensively. Iowa State, Rocco Abusama, they pick it up. Jalen Noel specifically I thought was a star in this game and should be somebody the rest of the Big 12 looks at as a legitimate target to be a playmaker moving forward. In that second half, Iowa State showed the offense can turn it on when it needs to. And if you get that consistently, they're very dangerous in Big 12 play. And they did it at Kinnick Stadium, which is very tough to go into and win. And Sorry, I listened to the Big Ten squad last week, and they were all like, "Oh, Cade McNamara is good." Wrong, he's not. We did not see Cade McNamara.
Just to be clear, I didn't say that.
Yeah, others did, and they were incorrect.
Others did express that general sentiment.
Cade McNamara's year, yeah. Oh, yeah, you scored 40 against Western Illinois, Iowa State. Good, nice job. This week he was bad.
Yeah, he did not pick it up, as the kids might say. But someone who definitely didn't pick it up was Colorado. And you texted me specifically wanting to come and air out grievances because my take on Colorado is, unfortunately for the Deion haters out there, he's not going to go away this year. Colorado is going to be right about what I expect them to be, which is a 6-6 football team. I think that's still incredibly attainable. My reasoning, Drake, is that there is not a single team on Colorado's schedule that is decisively better than Nebraska. If you picked up this Nebraska team and you put them back where they belong in the Big 12 Conference, they are one of the preseason favorites, in my view, to win the league. And I didn't expect Colorado to be a conference championship team this year. Some people did. That's your mistake. Fine. I can live with people making that sort of mistake, getting overly optimistic here. Why am I wrong on Colorado that they can still be a 6-win football team?
I want to go first. I am not confident we know that about Nebraska yet, that this version of Nebraska could be a competitor at the top of the Big Ten or competitor at the top of the Big 12. Preseason, top, 5, 6 Big Ten team?
No, I don't think they're on. I think they're going to be close to unbeaten, no more than one loss going into Ohio State. I think they'll get beat pretty badly. Think Michigan State, Mel Tucker, 2021 in Columbus.
Okay.
I think it'll look like that.
And that there's a very good chance that that game goes that way. However, for Nebraska, I'm not a buy yet. The reason I'm not a buy is the same reason that Arkansas. I've got a lot of Oklahoma State fans. I'm going to try to make a transitive property thing here. I've got a lot of Oklahoma State fans like, oh, well, Arkansas is better this year. Why? You made them look better. That's the sample size we have. UAPB and this game. For Nebraska, we have UTEP and Colorado. Oh, well, Nebraska looks a lot better. Yeah, because Colorado made them look better. This is a Colorado team that the issue is not necessarily, Spencer, that they're not talented. We know that if you ask 24/7 Sports, they have more 4 and 5 stars than anybody else in the entire Big 12. The problem comes from a horrendous offensive line once again, and B, a culture that will put them in the mud playing even teams like Colorado State or UCF, specifically Kansas State or Arizona. I don't believe that Colorado has they have Deion Sanders. Colorado's not a thing anymore. It's a Fugazi. Deion Sanders is the thing. He has used this program as a vessel for self-promotion, not as a football program. He wants one thing to win, and that's the last name Sanders. And as long as that's the case, Colorado will miss a bowl game this year. They don't have a football team. They've got a hodgepodge of AAU kids who want to make money.
Okay. I hear you there, but answer me this. 2023 Colorado plays 2024 Colorado. Who wins that football game?
Final score 31-24, 34-24, 2024 Colorado wins. Improved, yes. Bowl team, absolutely not.
They were a 4-win team last year in a loaded Pac-12. They're in a significantly weaker conference. Admittedly, they have a tough schedule, but who in 15 seconds or less can you give me, besides Utah, a defense that is going to be as good as the one they went up against when they went to Nebraska?
Oklahoma State. Oh, well, shit. Can't say that now. Shoot.
Yeah.
We can't say that now.
Your mind went to a team that gave up 648 yards at home, and I think I have made my point here.
I do like UCF's defensive backfield, and Kansas State still could have a very good defense.
Don't hate it. I'll take Nebraska. That Nebraska defensive staff, I will be shocked if at the end of this year, Nebraska's defensive staff
you are correct about that.
Yeah.
You're correct about that. Yeah. I don't know if that, I don't know if that, we're 2 weeks in. I don't know if that yeah, you weren't correct about Kansas, were you? You and I over there just peddling, trying to ask.
I like how you dragged me down into the mud with you there with that one. That was good.
I was right there too with Kansas.
Yeah, I know. But hey, Kansas has time to figure it out. But stick around, Drake, because we have to make predictions for Week 3 in the Big 12. The Big 12 arguably has the most exciting lineup, top to bottom, of football games this week, including the big one on Friday night in Manhattan. Predictions for all of that coming from Drake 12, Locked On Big 12. That's next. Before we talk predictions, let's talk FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. Why? They're America's #1 sportsbook, and we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. FanDuel's got everything you want for college football. Drake and I are about to make a bunch of picks. If you think we are crazy, out of our minds, no way this team wins, no way that team loses, you can go put your money where your mouth is. Every college football game, every NFL game, every game you could ever want to bet on is over at FanDuel, so go check them out. Visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel.com, that's the place to go. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and our official sportsbook sponsor here at the Locked On Network. Loaded week of football games in the Big 12 beginning Thursday night, 5:30 Mountain Time. That's 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Arizona at Texas State. If the Sun Devils win that game, you better look out if you've got them on your schedule this year. Friday, UNLV at Kansas will be a fun game. Arizona at Kansas State, the marquee game of the week. Then you get some under the radar ones, or maybe not so under the radar, like the backyard brawl on Saturday. So Colorado State, also an in-state rivalry. I know the other one isn't, but it's a rivalry. You get the point that I'm going for here. Drake, what's your biggest takeaway after this weekend? What do you think your biggest takeaway is going to be after this slate of football games?
Oh, my biggest takeaway as of today is this weekend is make or break for the Big 12, and it's only going to be break. There is no make. If you beat Texas State or UNLV or Tulsa or Miami of Ohio or North Texas, no one cares. Honestly, Spencer, if you beat Pittsburgh, no one cares, or Air Force or Colorado State. The country doesn't look at the Big 12 and go, oh, BYU, a road win in Laramie. No one is going to care if the Big 12 wins this week. They're only going to care if they lose. Now, would you be shocked in a world where Texas State beats Arizona State?
No, would not.
Would you be stunned if Miami of Ohio beats Cincinnati?
Not stunned, but a little surprised.
Would you be stunned if Pittsburgh beats West Virginia? I think
no, of course not. No, of course not. That's a coin flip.
We have a lot of coin flip games in the Big 12 this week where the conference could end up with egg on its face. If
Air Force at Baylor, I've seen Air Force beat Baylor before.
31-6 was the score in that one. It was
I think
not
it was 30-15.
I was there, and it was bad. It was very
not great.
Like -8 degrees as well. So if Colorado State goes out and pulls up the win, they only care about one game this year, and it's that Colorado game, and Colorado is really beaten up after last week. If Rice goes out and beats Houston, or Wyoming defends Laramie and beats BYU, these are feasible things. Do I think they'll happen? Probably not. But, Spencer, this week, the Big 12 goes to San Marcos, Tulsa, wherever Miami of Ohio is, they go there. We are on the road against Pittsburgh, in Logan, Utah against Utah State. It gets worse. Fort Collins, Colorado, and in Laramie, Wyoming. Why are half the games in this conference on the road, and a good portion of those against mid-major schools? You're setting yourself up for failure in a 12-team playoff format where all you have to do is win your league. Your non-conference should consist of home games against beatable programs, because 11-1, according to the committee we know and love right now, is still 11-1 pretty much no matter who you play.
UCF, Let me try
TCBY.
that again.
This can't be yogurt.
Oh my gosh, you know TCBY. I knew we could get along. I knew we could get along. I loved TCBY as a kid. I used to go there with my mom and brother after school all the time.
Tell your mama I said hello.
Really. Okay. Well, now that we're on that weird note, let me try speaking English here. TCU, UCF.
Yeah.
It feels like a before and after Jeopardy clue. TCUCF. I think this is going to be a really fun football game. I think TCU is one of the most underrated teams in the Big 12. I've been bullish on UCF all offseason. This game is in Fort Worth. I am more than a little excited to see how this one plays out. Rice-Houston, I pray that Houston wins that game. If they don't, they might go 0-12. But give me your prediction here, UCF at TCU.
All right, I get it. I went to Baylor. I get it. I'm not a homer. I will pick against Baylor almost every week because they're not a very good football team. And here, to be completely objective, preseason, this was my pick, and I'm going to stick with it. I've got UCF going into Fort Worth and winning. The last few times I was in Fort Worth watching a football game, the crowd was much improved. Josh Hoover is a pretty good quarterback that people are not giving enough credit to. Has 600 yards, throws for 300 yards almost every time he goes out there. However, the weapons around him aren't proven enough yet, and we know that RJ Harvey and Kobe Hudson and KJ Jefferson are good at some respective things. The only reason I'm saying some is because KJ Jefferson's problem is that the forward pass was invented in 1906. Other than that, UCF has an electric offense, and I've liked their defense so far as well, allowing 3 points against UNH and 14 points against Sam Houston State, which are not truly viable opponents. However, I do believe UCF's the better team. I don't think the crowd for TCU is going to get too much into this one. That UCF has issues, especially now that we have the new helmet stuff. Give me the UCF Knights to win in Fort Worth.
Look, I'm every quarterback this Saturday in college football. Just push your hands against your ears. Let's go rapid fire in the games that people care about here, Drake. Arizona at Texas State. Do the Sun Devils pull it out?
No. I have watched G.J. Kinney's team very closely since they beat Baylor last year.
They throttled, and I mean throttled UTSA, who is a preseason top 3 or 4 favorite in the American Conference, G5 playoff sleeper. That was one of the most under-the-radar impressive performances of the weekend. I think I'm with you on that Texas State pick.
Yeah, G.J. Kinney is good. Cam Scatterbo is a dark horse for first-team All-Big 12, a great running back at Arizona State, 265 yards on the ground last week. However, your quarterback Levitt's not that good, and Texas State's just got that kind of firepower. I think the at home, short rest, I think the Bobcats sneak one out.
UNLV at Kansas. God help both of us, Drake, if the Jayhawks lose 2 games in a row.
Yeah, Kansas by 10 in this, but we're going to walk away still having a lot of questions about Kansas. If this game finishes 31-21 or 35-24, I'm going to sit with a cigar and a glass of whiskey and say, Kansas might not be that good this year.
We're going to continue chronologically here. Game of the week in the Big 12, Friday night on Fox, Arizona at Kansas State. I like the Wildcats in this spot.
Spencer made it funny.
See what I did? Give me Kansas State over Arizona. I've not been impressed with the Arizona Wildcats going into this year. I was down on them compared to most. I don't think they're going to push for a Big 12 championship, and this is a non-conference game. Correct me if I am incorrect there, but I think Arizona goes in, suffers their first loss of the year.
Happy September 13th. It's an elimination game, Spencer. That is the problem. You will not get an at-large bid to the college football playoff if you lose this game, and it's week 3. It is a massive matchup for both of these schools. Because of that, Kansas State exposes the Arizona defense. Give me Avery Johnson, Chris Kleiman, and company.
Does Cincinnati lose to Miami of Ohio and increase the chatter surrounding their head coach?
Yep, Cincinnati is not going to win this week. The only thing keeping Scott Satterfield in Cincinnati is that buyout. They'll lose to Miami of Ohio, who got a Big 12 win last season. I should also note Cincinnati, the way they lost to Pittsburgh, demoralizing, and that's not going to help them in this week's game.
Texas Tech bounced back against North Texas.
North Texas scores over 30 points in this game. That's the one lock that I have because Texas Tech's defense is out.
Horrible.
The entire defense is just out this week, and Baron Morton is still not where I want him to be. I think North Texas definitely covers 10 if Tech wins. Skin of your teeth, but I have nothing on paper right now to trust Texas Tech with.
I've got Utah over Utah State. I've also got Baylor over Air Force. Any objections there?
Preseason, I picked Air Force to win this game. I think Air Force is much worse than expected. They have roster turnover every year because those students go literally fight for the United States to keep our freedom. However, I still think it's too early for Air Force to put it together. Baylor wins. It's sloppy. The offense is bad again, and Air Force runs all over them. But in like a 21-19 game that no one enjoys watching, I throw up all over myself, and the Bears win.
Backyard brawl, West Virginia at Pitt. I'm going Mountaineers here against Pitt. I think the Panthers got lucky last week to come back and win against Cincinnati. I think West Virginia is the better team.
Give me the better team and the better roster. Give me Neil Brown. This is a Neil Brown coaching for your job game. West Virginia wins it. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if it's ugly, but the Mountaineers pull it off and can still salvage an 8 or 9 win season with a tough schedule.
You already picked TCU to lose to UCF. I'm going with the Horned Frogs there at home. I'm impressed with Josh Hoover to this point. Colorado at Colorado State. I'm going with the Buffs. I know a lot of people are going to want to take the Rams here because they're at home. It's in Fort Collins, but I have got the Buffs getting a win.
Yeah, I don't know if this Rams team is as good as they were last year. And maybe the biggest tell that I'm basing that off of is the Texas game, 52-0, but Texas might be the best team in the country. The reason I'm going with Colorado State in this one is because I still don't have trust in Deion Sanders from a culture standpoint of teams to have his team ready for this game. Whereas Colorado State has circled one game and one game only on their schedule. Fort Collins will be as rocking as it can be, and Colorado State, who's prepared for this, will get the win against an unprepared Colorado team.
Rice at Houston and BYU at Wyoming. I'm going with the Owls here, violating Josh Pate's rule number 1, don't lose to food. I think Houston will lose to food this week. I think they emptied a lot of the tank last week against Oklahoma in a surprisingly great performance from Willie Fritz's team. And I think BYU's playing some pretty nice football right now. I was impressed they went into Dallas and got the win against SMU. Not a brutal road environment to go into, but I like the way the Cougars are playing. Wyoming looks like they are way, way down. It's first-year head coach, and it's not going well in Laramie at this point. So give me BYU and give me Rice out of the American.
Oh, geez. TV guy. Okay, yep. The paint drying competition is at 8 p.m. Eastern time on. Oh, I'm going to miss the Rice and Houston game. Paint's got to be
too
drying.
bad. That's too bad.
Give me both teams to lose, all of the watchers to also lose, and Houston beats Rice by 2 points. Final score 2-0.
And you think BYU loses to Wyoming?
Gutsy too. I do believe the BYU will beat Wyoming. This game is not. I think Wyoming does cover. Laramie night game. Wyoming is bad. How you say bad at football this year? And BYU is improved compared to where we thought they would be. BYU wins, but again, I think we'll have a sloppy week in the Big 12, but a whole lot of winners.
That's everything you could possibly need to know about the Big 12 this week. Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12. Drake, appreciate it as always.
Hey, thanks.
You're very, very welcome. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.